Welcome to the class, everybody. Professor NAMII back again with another video. As you already know, it's Professor NAMII because I ain't your mother. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I feel low energy for me right now. Honestly, I was in the middle of a nap. I just got no energy right now. But, I know that's the enemy trying to fuck with me. You see, that's why we need to have these conversations. Because we need to acknowledge where the bullshit is coming from. And I have important lessons today, so we gotta get through it, regardless if I'm tired or not. Right, bud? Welcome to the class. Yes, welcome. Anyways, let's get to it. So we got a lot of things to go over. First thing we're gonna talk about today, can you see that? Can you see? Me? I'm in the back. We're gonna be talking about the fifth pharaoh of heaven. His name is Ben Card. I'm gonna show you a picture of him now. This is one of his statues. But he was a good man. You see him? Back in the day, we had an obsession with figurines. Like everyone had, if you look like Pharaoh and the royal court, you had at least like 5 to 100 figurines made to be big. That's real tough one, right? But anyways, he built the third smallest pyramid of Giza with refined craftsmanship. What does refined mean? Yes. It's good, but better than good. Amazing. It basically refined means improving work that was already done. So it's an improved version of the other 2 pyramids of Giza. That's what refined means, okay? So he basically built the 3rd pyramid based on things that needed to be fixed in the first 2 pyramids of Giza. You understand? He's also known for his wisdom. A lot of people will come to him because they felt comfortable to speak to him about certain things, get advice, judgment. They was comfortable talking to the pharaoh versus later pharaohs. He was terrified to even say anything. So I feel like being someone that people could come to for advice, for wisdom, is what makes a great pharaoh, as well as being diplomatic. You're going to learn a lot about diplomacy today, but he was very diplomatic, and, he was known for it. He was a very good man. He was a very good man, a great ruler. Greatness isn't about size, how big something is. It's about the quality of life, justice, being fair, and respect, as well as caring about other people. What do you think about that? I think that's really how it's because if I get hurt and someone comes to say, are you okay? And then they give me a bandage, that's not care. And being respectful to others. For example, if someone likes something that you don't say, I don't like that, or you went to them, you say, hey, I don't like that, but I respect your opinion. Very good, bro. Very good. But yeah, he was one of the biggest leaderships, and he has a big legacy. He was the grandson of the pharaoh Khufu. Remember before we learned about Khufu? He is his grandson, and he reigned for about 18 to 22 years, and he was very benevolent. What does benevolent mean? What do you think benevolent means? Yes. I think benevolent means benevolent means kind. Nice. He was a very good ruler. He was a kind ruler. People felt comfortable coming to him for their problems. if they have any type of problem, they will come to them. And then the sixth sparrow we got here, I mentioned both of the second. Let me show a picture of him real quick. This is mentioned both of the second. His figurines are mostly full body. This is a really good one. This is one of my favorite ones because it's very detailed. You can actually see that he is not Arabic. That is a black man. That's why they call Kemet the black lion. Really? Yeah, let me show you. Because he got his eyes. He has one of the best actors I've seen. And I love these crowns of Upper Egypt of Kemet. Like he had the long crown. I have one similar thing. It's not exactly the same. It was like more feminine, but Vincent Hopeful. Anyways, he was a sixth pharaoh, and he also unified Upper and Lower Egypt. Upper and Lower Egypt always had some type of beef because there can't be two stars in one room. You understand? There's always some type of weird competition because Upper Egypt had their own pharaoh and Lower Egypt had their own pharaoh. So there's always some type of friction there, even though we was the same thing. So after Menkaure passed on, there was a small period where Upper Egypt, or Upper Kemet and Lower Kemet, they were beefing. And they had a civil war, actually, because they didn't believe in the same things, they had different ideologies. And you know when people think they know everything too, and nobody's willing to learn, it causes a man of youth. But Menkaure II, he reunified Upper and Lower Egypt after the first pharaoh, you know, the father of the king in armor. After he did the first time, Menkaure II, the second, the sixth pharaoh did it again. Because they had a civil war, Upper and Lower Egypt had a civil war. And because he reunited them again, he founded the Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom was basically the Middle Passage, so you got the little slither between Upper and Lower Kingdom. They made their own civilization called the Middle Kingdom. He also built innovative mortuary complexes. What do you think of mortuary complexes?
I think it's a very good base complex.
No, you just told me. Mortuary complex is where you bury tombs and bodies and worship people that have passed on before you. Sort of like a mausoleum, but more grander, and it has different levels as well. You want to see some pictures of it? Mortuary complex. What do you think else is used for?
I think it's used for natural resources.
No, that's what pyramids is for, energy centers and natural resources. This is basically the temple of the second. And have like stairs leading up to it, and you see the pyramid on top. So a lot of goes up the pyramid, but it's also levels you can go and worship and praise and basically remember it. And this. And he also believed that a divided nation can be brought together by military strength and diplomatic skill. And that brings me back to the big thing about diplomacy, diplomatic. Someone being a good pharaoh, a good leader, has to have the skill of democracy. Not only democracy, but the skill of diplomacy. I can't recall, you see the imaging? I can't, bro. Let me let my say. Yeah, put that in. Anyways, on to up to the second degree for 5 years question. What happened to it? Why is it so red? The mosquito bite bit your ear? Bro, we got a mosquito bite in the house and he just biting everybody. He biting you. I don't know if we got kid blood. I don't know if it's kid blood, but regardless. I need to get him out of here, and I don't see it. That's the thing. I don't even see the mosquito. How did he get me here? Anyways, he ran for about 5 years, and very long after uniting Upper and Lower Kemet. And they deemed him because they didn't think that Upper and Lower Kemet could unify after everything that happened. So they named him the living God because he was the only one that could able to get them from fighting each other like cats and dogs. So, with that being said, after everything we learned, what do you think? How can we implement these two pharaohs into the pyramid? See the pyramids that are right here? Hold on, let me show you my pyramid.
We got to try.
A body. What? No, they saw it yesterday.
No, about the kids, about the driveway. We got, because yesterday we went to
Oh, yeah.
Saturdays.
And he was here yesterday. We got some dry ice.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But yeah, that's not the point. It's how can we implement what these two pharaohs did into the family?
We could basically have like some person, the people are comfortable to talk about their problems.
Yes, someone that needs to be without once the pharaoh has to have the skill of wisdom.
And loyalty.
No, it's not about royalty. It's about
I
being
said
royalty. Loyalty, you're right, my bad. Loyalty.
I don't know if it's saying loyalty.
And diplomacy. He has to have the ability to solve problems.
And he has to be kind to others.
Wisdom, yes. Kindness and diplomacy go hand in hand. Now, the skill of diplomacy. What is diplomacy? What do you think diplomacy is?
I think it's when you're kind and caring and good fair.
Yes or no? I wrote down here what diplomacy is. Now, we're going to go through it one by one. It's like 5 steps. It's probably more, but I just broke it down in simplest terms. Number 1, negotiation. Building mutually beneficial agreements with other people, places, and things. Like security, trade, resources, things that we might need for the civilization. Negotiation is number 1 because you need to be able to negotiate with people, even people that you feel like you may not have a lot in common with, even people you feel like you don't even want to deal with, but you never know the resources someone has. And it's not about you. People think pharaoh is just a crown under your title. It's not about you. You're representing a whole brand. You're representing the nation. You're representing yourself, not only yourself, a whole civilization of people that's looking up to you to make the right thing. So in order for you to lead and step into the role, you have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to negotiate. You have to be able to make agreements, make plans, and actually follow through. Questions?
Well, if the pharaoh, would the pharaoh had no more questions. I don't know.
Okay, whatever. Moving on. Representation. You have designated voices or connections, and a designated, what is that word? Scribes. See, I forgot the I. Scribe to keep records of facts. So, like I said, representation. You have to, like I always say, one band, one sound. You have to come together, especially after the ones in their designated roles and their place, their titles. You have to learn how to come together as one and operate as one band, one sound. And that will make us stronger, not only because of numbers, but because of representation, symbols, rituals. Not rituals that's like, ooh, change the circle and do some weird shit. And like actually like holidays. A lot of people don't like to believe this, but holidays, Christmas, Easter, these are all rituals that the whole United States partake in every fucking year. And they don't even realize it because they just said the same rituals, they said holidays. And that's what make a nation stronger, something to celebrate, something to stand on, something to say, we do this here, we can do that over there, but this is what makes us different, and this is what we do. Representation, like the symbols, our crowns being shaped, like I said before. Let me show you this crown. The way we do things, civilization, like infrastructure, pyramids, the crowns that we wear, the symbols that we use every day it's what makes representation of the nation. Like, I'm obsessed with this one. I love this one so bad. So, like I said, representation. Question.
I have a suggestion. Why don't we have like a why don't we have like a class where we all come together and talk about certain stuff?
That's the point of the royal court. I'm just trying to prepare and talk about how we can implement the things that these pharaohs in the past and these rulers in the past, and so we can take and put it to the example. It's going to be the same but different, but better. That's the goal. Not to change it completely, but to upgrade it, uplift it to something that's better because of the opportunities, not only opportunities and technology that we have now that we may have not had back then. You're always growing within the years, and you can implement new strategies and old strategies to make something better. Another thing about representation, whenever we make these trade agreements, negotiations, these holidays, we need dedicated scribes, and that's why we need more than one. I think we need a group of at least 15 to 10 scribes, because one person can't keep track of all these historical events, and one person can't keep track of everything and write everything down. That's impossible. So we need a dedicated team of scribes that every time something happens, meetings, holidays, events, they can keep track and put it in our library, so our history won't be erased or tampered with any longer like it was before. Because there's a lot of things that they have, you know who they are talking about, that they never had correctly because of the things they tampered with before. So in order to avoid that, we need to have storage of everything that's happening and scribes to keep track of what's real and what's not real, so people can't turn and fuck shit up when they feel like it. Next, treaties and alliances. Formal agreements that establish trust and obligations. To think that we're a nation that is just going to be amongst ourselves is it's good to think that, but it's not realistic because of the size of the entire world, this earth that we live on. It's many different civilizations, many different nations that do things differently or may not like the things we do. That's when the negotiation comes in. That's when the representation comes in. And we can eventually build treaties and alliances, and we can have trust between each other, even if we don't agree on everything we do. And that trust can lead to obligation, and that obligation can lead to trade and resources that can build to the betterment of the community. Any questions? In order to have these treaties, in order to have these alliances with other civilizations, other nations, we have to have the ability to represent one band, one sound, and negotiate. You give these apples, and I'll give you some oranges. I may not like the way you cut your apples. You may not like the way I cinnamon my toast. However, I got something that you want, and I know you want something from me. Negotiation, trade, alliance, trust, and obligation. Are you following me here? And these are all the skills of diplomacy. All right, moving along. Number 4, conflict resolution skills, the art of de-escalation. See me, I feel like I shouldn't be saying this because anyone that knows me will, I'm not good at conflict resolution. If a bitch come with me with some fire, I have to bring the whole fucking stove. I'm not the best at conflict resolution. However, I do know how to de-escalate conflict when needed. Question?
If there's a conflict, will there be a therapist to help the people solve those?
Therapist, no. Mediator, yes. And that's why whoever Pharaoh, co-Pharaoh is, they need to learn the skill of diplomacy. Because once you know the skill of diplomacy, you have the power to solve and de-escalate conflict. Especially if you're from other nations, you don't agree on something, you don't believe in the same things, instead of at least having a shouting match that turns into a war, you have to say we come to a mutual agreement, which is the skill of negotiation. That doesn't mean change your representation. That means negotiating mutually beneficial agreements that establishes those establish formal trust and allocation. And that is conflict resolution skills. Moving along, any questions? Moving along. Number 5, soft power. Influence the culture, reputation, and relationships. Someone else to be Pharaoh has to have soft power. I prefer hard power, but soft power would do because like the Pharaoh, the party, he was very benevolent. He was very kind and he was very wise. The people who come to him with their problems, the people could speak how they feel and they could come to him with judgment. Ask for his judgment. Ask what should I do, Pharaoh? And instead of judging and throwing them to the lion's den, he could give them help them make a solution of their problems. And that gives people the comfortability to not drag it or step on your toes, but know that I need something I can come to my Pharaoh versus being terrified and seeking other counsel and bad things happen. You feel me? So soft power is good. Rather than, full on power force, look at me wrong, I'm throwing you to the dent and nobody can stop it. Because like my grandma used to say, you get more beanies with honey. Everything doesn't need to be a gun over your waist, quick as a cop. I need to make something move. That's not what being Pharaoh is. Being Pharaoh is being diplomatic. Being able to have those skills. Being able to, yes, be a strong person of power, but able to be benevolent and make wise decisions on behalf of the civilization. Do you feel it? Alright. Even though sometimes a little fear is needed, because if you don't establish a slight fear in people's hearts, they start thinking they can do whatever. Fear is needed, but however, it's good to be wise, it's good to be kind, it's good to be benevolent. Yeah.
Just need to set a little bit of rules.
Yes, once you set rules, people know your boundaries, rules and boundaries. Once you set rules and boundaries, people should know how to move from that. Alright? Now back over here. We can also use this, we can also use this measuring confidence for variables. And not only that, a place you can worship God. Yahweh, Cashapp. We can also utilize older currently designs from modern speaks or refine it due to the technology, but still keeping its grace, still keeping its, what's the word for it? Its flair. Yeah. In the modern period, we had records and letters of correspondence between us and other nations. And there's other different types of diplomacy as well. It's internal diplomacy. You have any idea what internal diplomacy is? Internal diplomacy is having diplomacy within our civilization, not with other nations, but inside our civilization. Like meeting a council for each sector, a council for the Pharaoh, the royal family, the advisors, the farmers, the construction, the artisans, the teachers, the cooks, the merchants, the Pink Palace, which if you don't know, the Pink Palace is where people get their hair done, nails done, everything did, and the sharks where guys get their shave up, locks, whatever they want done with it. It has to be separated. All of these items, all of these rankings, all of these titles will have at least one representative that comes at the end of the month and talk about what can be changed and what can be improved and what's going good for each of their sectors, each of their titles. They come together and they discuss once a month, and that's something called internal diplomacy. It's when you and other people of your civilization come together and have meetings, council meetings, and discuss what can be changed and what's going good for the civilization. That is internal diplomacy. And I plan on having these meetings at least once a month so people can not only get together, but we can discuss and make plans and changes about what can be changed and what's going good for each of the sectors. Like I said, a lot of people think that Pharaoh means you only care about them and they get everything. No, it's a civilization. Everyone's going to be living like kings and queens. Yes, okay. Like making that face. I can't say this. Mm-hmm. And the second part of diplomacy is external diplomacy. Trade agreements, exchange goods, protocols for internal and external disputes. Like for instance, I say you got a dispute with somebody, right? And America, you go to court or other places too. I really don't fucking know, I don't care. But if you got a dispute with someone, you go to court and it can be balanced based on the jury. And even then, sometimes it's not fair. But however, we have external diplomacy rules, agreement, rules, protocols for each sector, internal and external. We can solve disputes within other people in the civilization, even outside of civilization, the right way. Are you questioning? What did I just say?
You said that we could have extreme diplomacy, and that we could come together and change plans and stuff like that, and that we're gonna have council meetings amongst us.
Council meetings for what sectors? All sectors.
Yes.
So we're gonna have one or two appointed representatives for each sector, for each title. And once a month we link up, talk about what's to be changed, what's going good, what's going bad, and how we can implement strategies to change that in the future. That is internal diplomacy. External diplomacy is correspondence between us and other nations, nations, and hopes of negotiation, trade resources, treaties, alliances, and trust and obligation. All right? All right. So that's how we can implement with these two frameworks. Majority and Mendoza. We can implement what they did during their reign into the new cabinet. Any questions? Okay. I'm gonna start changing this slide book. I feel like my energy again is not the best, and I'm gonna fix that shit. I think it's like I having coffee today. I feel like I need my coffee to somebody or oh shit, I see a bug outside. I think it's really good here. See? This is what I'm talking about. Is there any questions about we close out tomorrow? Sure. It's a little bit short as one I've done. Anyway, y'all, I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's live this Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, I think I'm gonna rest up to do other stuff. I have a video on that too, so I should post about like 6 o'clock. Anyways, look at